Hi, this is Simon Canlish and welcome to another Marvelous Videos. Every comic book company's lineup has had a supreme antagonist to date, a magnanimous being whose persona cannot be gauged by earthly descriptions, a being who has displayed his power and magnificence over and over, and shown our heroes who the actual boss is. Had it not been for the combined guarding forces of our heroes, this villain could have decimated and obliterated the entire world. But who is this villain for the mainstream DC universe? Who's a nightmare for this entire Earth and its protectors alike? Well, Darkseid is. In today's video, we dive deep into the grand lore of Darkseid, the evil lord of Apocalypse. So without further ado, join me, my parademons, to Apocalypse for Darkseid. Before we go on to our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
Overdue, Superman.
Publication history. The legendary and visionary writer, artist, creator Jack the King Kirby used to work for Atlas Comics, which became Marvel Comics down the line. There he created milestone characters like the Hulk, Black Panther, Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man. These characters have been tested over time and are still going strong in Marvel Comics. They form the basis of the Marvel mythology. Kirby left Marvel and joined its rival, DC Comics. He was no less a creative mind here at DC. Here he created the Fourth World Saga, a world full of gods and monsters and their adventures. Darkseid was introduced as the main antagonist in this saga and made his debut in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, issue 134, in December 1970. In this issue, Superman got the hint that a god of intergalactic proportions is coming to invade everything in his wake. Darkseid's origin was explained in Forever People issue 1. His face was modeled after actor Jack Palance, and his character was inspired by the dictator Adolf Hitler, and he has also been shown to rule Apocalypse and run concentration camps like the Great Yura. Although the Fourth World meta-series did not receive so much hype and was cancelled, Darkseid has remained one of the most feared villains in the DC universe.
Time to die, Man of Steel.
What is Fourth World and how did it come to be? There existed a world where the old gods had lived. In that world, they flourished, bantered, fought, and went into wars among themselves. But this time, it took its toll, and the world started collapsing. Then came Ragnarok, when the planet of the old gods broke apart, blasting divine energy through space and time. All the old gods died, and the two pieces of the world were left in space, adjacent to each other, waiting for new life to be born. When life happened on the two planets, and it evolved, the new gods came into existence. One planet named New Genesis, with benevolent and noble gods, it was overseen by the great leader and warrior Isaiah, the High Father. Under his guidance, New Genesis became the living embodiment of good, much like heaven. On the other hand, the other planet birthed evil gods and monsters. It eventually came to be known as Apocalypse. It came to be ruled by the cruel gods Yuga Khan and his wife Hegra. Apocalypse was the embodiment of everything bad and was depicted akin to hell. It has been engaged with wars and battles with New Genesis ever since. Darkseid is Yuga Khan and Hegra had two sons, Drax and the conniving Prince Euxus. Yuga Khan attempted to absorb the power of Source, the living consciousness of the DC universe, which gives the gods and superheroes all their powers. But instead, he was frozen into the Source Wall, so Drax, being the elder brother, was next in line to be the king of the Apocalypse. But Euxus wanted the throne of Apocalypse all by himself. Both the princes wanted to covet the mythical Omega Force, to become an omni-powerful god. In the Infinity Pit, when Drax was trying to acquire the Omega Force, Euxus killed him and imbued himself with the Force. Instantly, his skin was transformed into stone. He became infinitesimally powerful and the carrier of the Omega effect. He baptized himself as Darkseid and summoned his rule over Apocalypse.
Noble sentiments, my dear.
Could Darkseid be redeemed? What can possibly defeat a beastly, evil god made of impenetrable stone? The answer is love. Even the stone-hearted, mighty Darkseid was once mellowed down by the power of love when he befriended Suli, a sorceress and a scientist from Apocalypse. Suli gave birth to his first child, Kalibak, but Queen Hegra could not bear the sight of his son getting soft by his lady love. He had her poisoned by Darkseid's acolyte, Darkseid. Heartbroken by sorrow, Darkseid grew cold. He married Tigra and had another child, Orion. When he came to know that Hegra had ordered the murder of Suli, he went mad with rage. He killed Hegra by poisoning her with the help of Darkseid. He took over the throne of Apocalypse and its sovereign monarch, and started growing colder towards the people around him. He shifted his focus to the AntiLife equation, a blueprint to take over the minds of all living beings in the universe and end free will. He was engaged in a continuous fight with New Genesis. The ongoing wars and battles became so bad that it could have been perilous for both worlds. So as part of a peace treaty, Highfather gave his son scot-free to Darkseid and took Orion in exchange to take care. In this way, the battles between the worlds will cease. Darkseid immediately gave scot-free to the care of Granny Goodness, the evil war mother and leader of the female furies of Apocalypse. So at last, when Darkseid had no one to care for, his soul turned as hard as his body. An irredeemable god, Darkseid set forth his quest for finding the AntiLife equation and laid corpses of the entire multiverse in his wake.
Think of it, Superman. The power you have now, it's nothing compared with what I'm offering you.
The power of God, Darkseid is an immortal new god who consumed the Omega Force, which bestowed him with powers unimaginable. He is an indestructible being with superhuman strength. He martyrs the Omega Sanction, a spiral cage that surpasses time, within time. During Final Crisis, he sent Batman to the Omega Sanction. Once he locks his eye on his target, the Omega beams can track and decimate the target wherever it goes. Only Flash was known to evade the beams in comics, and Batman evaded it in the Justice League animated series. He is telepathic and telekinetic. He has got several mother boxes at his disposal which heals him and can create boom tubes to teleport him anywhere in the multiverse at his will. He is also able to absorb the powers of gods after he has killed them off, making him more powerful after every encounter. First Blood, when scot-free escaped Apocalypse with the help of his love, Big Barda of the Female Furies, an enraged Darkseid voided the peace treaty and resumed the strife with New Genesis. With his mind submerged in war and his quest for anti-life, he found out about the island of Themyscira. Themyscira was a sovereign nation of women who were descendants of the old gods. Darkseid anticipated them as a danger to his plan and attacked Themyscira and tried to persuade them in his quest for anti-life. There was a bloody battle when they refused, where Darkseid killed many Amazonians. Wonder Woman sacrificed a part of her pious soul and implanted that in Darkseid to reduce the savage darkness in him. Darkseid retreated from the war but kept planning his next move. Darkseid was somehow certain that the human minds actually held the pieces of the anti-life equation, so he furthered his plan by trying to take over every human mind on Earth. The Supergirl from Krypton. When Superman's cousin, Kara Zor-El, appeared on Earth, Darkseid was watching. He abducted her from Themyscira, where Kara was getting trained by Wonder Woman. He mind-controlled Kara and held her as one of his aides on Apocalypse. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Big Barda boomed themselves to Apocalypse to save Kara, while Superman fought a mind-controlled Kara, and Big Barda and Wonder Woman fought Granny's Furies. Batman took the fight directly to Darkseid. He ordered Darkseid to release Kara from his control. Darkseid denied and fought Batman. Although Batman landed a few punches, he was no match for a god. While being pinned to a wall by Darkseid, Batman revealed that he had planted bombs all over Apocalypse's solar pits. If Darkseid didn't absolve Kara, Batman would activate them all and take the entire planet with him. Impressed, Darkseid let go of Kara at that point. The heroes brought Kara back to Earth, where Superman gave her the mantle of Supergirl. But Darkseid appeared and apparently killed Supergirl with his Omega beams. An overwhelmed Superman battles Darkseid and entraps him into the Source Wall. It was later shown that Supergirl's death was staged by Superman. Darkseid later escaped by means unknown. Hold on tight to your AntiLife. When Darkseid came in contact with Martians many years ago, he discovered that their anatomy is based on the concept of free will. It is free will that gave the Martians their powers. This freedom of mind was dubbed as life equation. Darkseid deduced that there must also exist a counter equation that is able to take away free will. That ignited his interest in the AntiLife, and he has been on the quest ever since. Many times he has tried to take over the minds of the people of Earth, and the superheroes have stopped him. Later, it was revealed that the entire AntiLife equation was held somewhere in the minds of two people, wrestler Sonny Sumo and rich Earthman $billion Bates. Bates held that equation in the very corners of his mind since birth and was also a ruler of a cult. When he died, Darkseid retrieved his body and started his experiments on him. He made multiple clones of Bates and was finally able to extract the equation from his mind. Darkseid now became even more powerful than ever and stepped forth to lay the entire multiverse at its knees. With the help of the AntiLife equation, he massacred New Genesis and killed almost all the new gods who were his adversaries. The gods from the New Genesis and Apocalypse found their new home on Earth. All the gods lodged their essences in new bodies on Earth. Isaiah and others became a bunch of homeless people, while both Metron and Black Racer became wheelchair-bound and senile. Granny Goodness, Darkseid's aide, posed as a pimp and led a group of prostitutes compromising the female Furies. Darkseid had turned into a psychiatrist. In the future, a final battle ensued between Darkseid and Orion in the fiery pits of Apocalypse. Orion defeated him by ripping his chest open. Darkseid's essence traveled back to the time when the new gods were living as refugees on Earth and posed in the body of a mob boss and called himself Boss Darkseid. He started working with Granny and Darkseid on his grand plan. Somewhere in the future, Darkseid also shot a time-traveling god killer, Radiant Bullet, that went back in time and killed Orion and got stuck in a wall by further traveling several years back. And with Orion's death started the greatest crisis the world has ever faced, the final crisis. Darkseid takes over. When the Radiant Bullet was traveling back in time, it caught the notice of an entity from the Speed Force, and that entity followed the bullet. Meanwhile, cop Dan Turpin found the body of Orion by the docks in Bloodhaven and started investigating the death. Batman found the Radiant Bullet where it had engraved itself by traveling back in time and started testing it for clues. He kept that bullet in his utility belt. While all of these were unraveling, Boss Darkseid was using the Earth's villains towards bringing Earth under total control. His acolyte Libra gathered the Earth's villains under his order. Libra then brought a captive Martian manhunter and impaled him through the chest, killing him. He recorded it and sent it to all the villains, convincing them to join Darkseid's cause. Meanwhile, Granny Goodness took over the mind of Alpha Lantern Kraken and framed Hal Jordan for murder and had him removed from the scene. While Darkseid had the AntiLife equation at hand, he also discovered the Pied Piper had a verbal form of the equation. He ordered the villain Mokari to release the equation over the internet. This brought down most of the world's population under Darkseid's mind control. Batman was abducted by mind-controlled Alpha Lanterns and was held captive at Darkseid's lair. Darkseid tied him to a mind machine that showed Batman his true fears and pain, while that pain was used to fuel an entire army of parademons. Superman went out of Earth in search of a life-saving elixir to save Lois Lane, who was critically injured by a bomb going off at the Daily Planet. Mary Marvel's mind was taken over by Darkseid. Wonder Woman was injected with the Mortoculous God Bacterium and fell victim to the mind control of Darkseid. Slowly and precisely, other heroes like Green Arrow and Black Lightning were also taken under control of the equation and inducted into the mind-controlled military force called Justifiers. Detective Dan Turpin found the location of the Darkseid Club with the help of Renee Montoya. Now the question. There he found a few mind-controlled missing kids who delivered the AntiLife equation to him. When he submitted, Darkseid took over Turpin's body as his final vessel. Then he stood in front of a world that submitted to him as the new Darkseid. And the world chanted for him loneliness plus plus alienation plus fear plus despair plus self-worth, divided by mockery, divided by condemnation, divided by misunderstanding, times guilt, times shame, times failure, times judgment. N equals Y, where Y equals hope, and N equals folly. Love equals lies, life equals death, self equals Darkseid. With everyone under control, Darkseid created a singularity with himself at the center. If he died, all reality would crumble with him, and from the ashes a new world, the fifth world, will rise in Darkseid's image.
For now, I shall take the role of executioner.
The heroes come together. The entity that started following the radiant bullet from the time stream was none other than Barry Allen, the Silver Age Flash. He was lost in time after the events of Crisis on Infinite Earth. Following the bullet and Metron's chair as a beacon, he came back to the current time, where he met the other Flashes, Jay Garrick and Wally West. Barry described that he was lost in the Speed Force and was trying to evade the Black Racer, the speedster who brings death. Black Racer only came for the gods who were dying. So Barry suggested a plan to run and lure the Black Racer to Darkseid, to the point when he fired the radio bullet. The Racer can then acquire Darkseid's soul. Deciding on this, both Barry and Wally ran into the Speed Force. Meanwhile, in the future, Superman fought Mandrak, the vampire monitor, acquired the elixir and delivered it to Lois Lane back on Earth, saving her from death. While he was traveling back, he met Brainiac 5. Brainy showed Superman the designs of a miracle machine, which can fulfill any wish and change reality. Superman memorized the blueprint of the machine. Alan Scott, the former Green Lantern, put Article X into motion by assembling all the heroes that are left unscathed by Darkseid's army, or the AntiLife equation. Shiloh Norman, the new Mr. Miracle, banded with Sonny Sumo and joined forces with Tattooed Man and Super Young Team. Shiloh gave them a symbol that stood for freedom. The symbol acted as an antidote and negated the anti-life equation. Powered with the symbol, they joined the fight against Darkseid. Mr. Terrific joined forces with Checkmate and OMAC and programmed the OMAC androids to join the resistance. They traveled to the Justice League Tower and freed the other mind-controlled heroes and took the JLA Tower back. Lex Luthor killed Libra and banded with Sivana to join the resistance. In Oa, where Hal Jordan was in captivity, Lanterns Guy Gardner and Kyle Rayner intervened and proved that Kraken is indeed being controlled by Granny Goodness. When Kraken attacked them, Hal and the Green Lantern Corps defeated her and took her captive. The Green Lantern Corps then came together and started their journey back to Earth to stop Darkseid. Batman defeated the Mind Machine with his thoughts. He is Batman after all. He broke out of Command D, armed with a high-tech gun and the Radiant Bullet. But there was also another ace up the sleeve for the heroes. Nyx Uatan, a powerful monitor, was exiled to Earth. All his memories and powers were stripped off. He was fighting to remember who he is and how he came to Earth, but could not. Meanwhile, he was put into a cell by Darkseid's minions. There was another man who shared the cell with him, a man bound in a wheelchair, played with his Rubik's Cube. This man was actually Metron. When reality started crumbling and leading to the final act of the crisis, Metron made a god move and solved the Rubik's Cube in 17 moves. The cube was revealed to be a mother box, and the god move just opened it up to fill its full potential. It healed Nyx Uatan's mind and restored his powers, and Nyx stood up in his monitor form and declared, "The judge of all evil is here."
A final gift, my wayward son.
Final Crisis. After breaking out of Command D, Batman went directly to meet Darkseid. He made a solemn oath of never firing a gun, but this time he made an exception. He shot Darkseid in the heart with the Radiant Bullet. The bullet was poisonous to the new gods. It hurt Darkseid beyond repair and started spreading the rot and the weakness of his essence inside Dan Turpin's body. In return, Darkseid fired his Omega beams and sent Batman back in time. Darkseid dubbed this as the Omega Sanction. If Batman ever came back from the past to the present, he will have to so much Omega energy imbibed within him that he will become an Omega bomb. If that bomb goes off, Batman will take all reality with him. While Superman and the other heroes were fighting to fend off Darkseid's forces, Darkseid came out and faced Superman. He taunted Superman, saying that everything belonged to him. He had created the Singularity, where he resided in the mind of all beings, and he was taking reality crumbling down with him. Superman tried to fight Darkseid, but held off when he realized it was his friend Dan Turpin's body where Darkseid was residing. Darkseid had taken the radium bullet out of his body and put it in a gun. This was the point in time where he shot the bullet to kill Orion. He lifted his gun and fired. But then, like the first light of dawn, the Flash appeared, with the Black Racer chasing them. The Flashes homed in on the moment of the bullet leaving Darkseid's gun. They ran and phased through Darkseid. And at that moment, the Black Racer stopped. He was facing Darkseid, a dying god, poisoned by the radiant bullet. At that terminal point, the Racer took Darkseid's soul from Turpin's body and went his way. After being inoculated from the Mortioccus bacterium, Wonder Woman bound all the human beings with her lasso. Since she had her own soul placed in Darkseid before, she was able to connect to everyone who was under Darkseid's control. She used her powers to strip off every shred of mind control and anti-life from the humans. But Darkseid's forces were still at large, and reality was crumbling. And a little bit of his essence also hung onto this plane. Superman presented the blueprint of Miracle Machine to all the heroes and villains and gathered the greatest minds to create one. Once the machine was complete, the remaining essence of Darkseid appeared. It tried to meddle with Superman's thoughts to kick the Miracle Machine into destroying reality, but Superman shouted a tune and destroyed the vibrations of the last remaining essence of Darkseid and finished him forever. He then used the machine to bring everything in existence back to normal. And then came a flashpoint. In 2011, Barry Allen ran back in time in order to save his mother from being killed by Obad Thawne. He managed to save her, but in doing so he created the Flashpoint and changed the entire DC universe. To bring everything back to the way it was, he ran into time stream again. Only this time, he ran to stop himself from creating the Flashpoint. He was successful, but the entire DC universe was rebooted. The new 52 was born. All the heroes were now younger, friends and lovers, no longer in touch. Heroes were just starting their journey, and no one had any memory of the pre-Flashpoint era. It was at this point we saw a new version of Darkseid. Here, instead of being a prince, he was a mud grubber named Yuxas. He lived in the world of the old gods, along with his brother Isaiah and Isaiah's wife. While Isaiah and his wife were fearful mortals that shook at the sight of the old gods, Yuxas harbored deep hate for them. While the old gods played or playfully fought, the mortals of the world were killed like the lowlives they were. The mortals were always at their mercy. One night, when the old gods were sleeping, Yuxas climbed the forbidden mountain where they slept. He whispered in their ears and tricked them into fighting each other. The old gods went to war. When they fell one by one, Yuxas killed each one of them with his scythe and took their power. These powers transformed him into a new god, and he baptized himself as Darkseid. But while the Lord of the Skies was dying from his battle with Darkseid, with his dying breath, he gave his power to Isaiah, who also became a new god. Darkseid and Isaiah went into battle. The might of the battle was so much that the world of the new gods exploded. Similar to pre-New 52, the two pieces of the world became New Genesis and Apocalypse, where Darkseid started his tyranny. Darkseid discovered multiple worlds in the multiverse and became fascinated with Superman in each of the multiverse. He got into an obsession with invading the multiverse and killing every version of Superman in it. His uncle and Lieutenant Steppenwolf attacked Earth 2 on his order, killed the Justice League, and turned Superman of this Earth evil. His quest brought him to Earth 1, where all the new heroes met him for the first time. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, Aquaman, and Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, came together for the first time despite their differences. They were able to defeat Darkseid and send him back to Apocalypse, officially making Darkseid the first villain that the League ever fought together.
But remember, victory has its price.
A call to a new war. Myrina Black, an assassin from Amazon, was given the task to protect humanity by the old gods. Knowing that she will never be able to defeat Darkseid, she chalked up a long-term plan. She had a girl child with Darkseid. She named it Grail. She trained her and brought her up with one sole agenda: to kill Darkseid. When Grail grew up, she hopped from one world to another, evading the forces of Darkseid and searching for an ally as powerful as him. She eventually found the Anti-Monitor. Anti-Monitor was a scientist named Mobius, Mobius. He sat on his Mobius chair and gathered all the knowledge about the universe, much akin to the original Brainiac, but he was cursed with the antimatter energy and was designed as a destroyer of the universe. He vowed that all the gods and the entire universe will die by his hands. He went from the world to world and decimated everything with his antimatter energy. He was confronted by Metron, who pleaded with him to stop the madness, but to no effect. Meanwhile, Mr. Miracle uncovered Myrina's plan to bring Darkseid to Earth, where he will be killed by the equally powerful Myrina Black. He fled when Myrina attacked him in search of the League. Meanwhile, Darkseid had already planned to invade Earth once again and gathered his forces alongside Steppenwolf, Desad, and Caliban. While Darkseid's minions, Kanto and Lashina, were on the hunt for Myrina Black, Grail attacked the Justice League. She overpowered all of them. Then she grabbed Green Lantern's Jessica Cruz and used her power ring from Earth 3 to summon the Anti-Monitor on Earth. Metron saved the Justice League by transporting them to the Rock of Eternity. He was reluctant to give answers, but Wonder Woman bound her with her lasso and pulled her out of the Mobius chair. While the chair was on the verge of booming out, Batman jumped and sat on it. The power of Mobius' chair channeled through him and he became Batman, the god of knowledge. Superman and Luthor were boomed to Apocalypse by Lena Luthor, who was working for Darkseid. Superman discovered that he had lost his powers as there was no sun and that they were stuck on Apocalypse. Having laid down all of their plans perfectly, Grail conducted an Omega ritual with her blood, which was from the old gods as well as the new ones, and summoned Darkseid to Earth. Darkseid then appeared with his armies on Earth. The Justice League now teamed up with Mr. Miracle, boomed to the spot, and so started the Darkseid War. The god is dead, long live the new gods. On Apocalypse, Superman and Lex Luthor tried to fend off the attack of the parademons. Luthor pointed out that the solar pits of Apocalypse were powered by the sun. Superman dived into the solar pits but was instead recharged with negative solar energy. He turned into a god, the god of strength. Batman, the god of knowledge, and Hal Jordan went to the planet Quad, the birthplace of the Anti-Monitor. In Quad, they discovered that Quad was the center of the universe, and inside the core of the planet resided the AntiLife equation, which actually transformed the scientist Mobius into Anti-Monitor. Meanwhile, on Earth, the God War between Anti-Monitor and Darkseid was creating havoc. In his desperation, Darkseid summons the Black Racer to fight on his side, but Anti-Monitor merges the Black Racer with Flash, creating a god of death. Anti-Monitor fires an anti-life blast at Darkseid, and Flash phases through him, delivering the final blow, and Darkseid dies. Hal Jordan was bestowed with the power of will in order to save OA from Darkseid's parademons, and he became the god of light. Shazam was called by the wizards and was bestowed with the power of all gods, and he became the god of gods. And Lex Luthor took the power of Omega energy and became the new god of Apocalypse, becoming the anti-god. Mobius separated from Anti-Life equation. Grail takes control of the equation and becomes the goddess of Anti-Life, and an entirely new lineup of gods were born. An enemy of my enemy. With Mobius, Grail, and Myrina still at large, the Justice League teamed up with the Crime Syndicate to fight against them. They went into an all-out war with Mobius's antimatter energy and his shadow demons. The Green Lantern Corps joined the fight too. Luthor boomed to Earth from Apocalypse, bringing a plethora of parademons to fight Mobius. Meanwhile, Gray conducts a ritual to imbue Steve Trevor with the anti-life equation. Armed with a new anti-life host, she and Myrina boomed to the location where the battle was taking place. Steve went hands-on with Mobius and blasted him an anti-life and killed him for good, but controlled by Grail, he attacked Diana and the Justice League. Congratulations, it's a boy. Superwoman from Crime Syndicate was already pregnant with the child of Mazaz, the Shazam from Earth 3. During the fight, she went into labor and gave birth to a boy child. Grail screamed Mazahaz and took over the power of gods from the Justice League and Luthor and gave it to the baby. She separated Black Racer from Flash and ordered him to kill Flash. When Grail took the anti-life back from Trevor and gave it to the baby, he was reborn as Darkseid again, but totally controlled by Grail. Darkseid and Grail, attacked the Justice League. Together they were so powerful that they practically were unstoppable. Diana talked sense into Myrina and asked her to help the League to stop this madness. Diana and Myrina bound Grail with their lasso. Just as Myrina was going to kill Grail, she shot an Omega beam. It hurt Myrina but also took Darkseid as he was in the line of fire. The Anti-Life separated from Darkseid and he turned into a baby again. Myrina died, Jessica Cruz saved Flash and was inducted into Green Lantern Corps, but Grail escaped with baby Darkseid. Growing pains. During the Dark Knight's Metal event, baby Darkseid was kidnapped by Batman in an attempt to transport himself back to the past, but he was returned later. Grail and Darkseid continued their new quest to kill and absorb the powers of the old gods. They managed to search and kill Zeus's demigod offsprings, Perseus and Hercules. With their powers, Darkseid grew into a toddler. While fighting Wonder Woman later, he grew up more, this time the size of a young man. Then he faced off against Zeus himself and absorbed his power, killing him. Imbued with so much power, Darkseid grew up to his original self. He then departed with Grail, indicating that he had greater plans. Status quo. Darkseid was shown to operate from Earth Omega during the Infinite Frontier event. He believed that all his versions from across the multiverse were weaker copies of him, so he absorbed all of them to turn into a prime Darkseid. Darkseid recently appeared as one of the Dark Army in the Dark Crisis event. Darkseid had a grand plan of taking control of the Great Darkness in order to destroy the Omniverse. He tried doing the same during the final crisis. When Darkseid went into battle with the Empty Hand, he activated the Oblivion Machine and sent Darkseid to the Void. In the Void, the Great Darkness took control of Darkseid and created its Dark Army comprising Darkseid, Neron, Empty Hand, Ares, Necron, Doomsday, Eclipso, and Upside Down Man. He was eventually stopped by Superman and his son John.
Take your best shot.
Back to the future. Darkseid made his appearance in the 30th century and fought the Legion of Superheroes during the Great Darkness Saga. Here he mastered the Great Darkness and used his powers to mind control the entire population of 3 billion Daxamites, giving them superpowers and making them attack Earth. While battling the Legionnaires and Supergirl, he had to relinquish his hold over the Daxamites. Realizing he will not be able to take on so many superpowered Daxamites, he retreats by cursing the Legionnaires with the Curse of Darkness.
Very well. This world dies now.
What if Darkseid? Beside the main DC continuity, Darkseid also made his appearance in Elseworld titles too. In Superman, the Darkseid, the ship of Kal-El landed on Apocalypse instead of Earth. He was brought up by Darkseid and sent to the Earth for invasion. Superman eventually grew a conscience and turned good. Given the hero Superman is, he helped the people of Apocalypse to rise against Darkseid and ended his reign there. Darkseid also made an appearance in the famous DC Marvels crossover, The Uncanny X-Men and the New Teen Titans. Here, Darkseid wanted to break open the Source Wall, and he had deducted that the Phoenix Force that Jean Grey held within herself was powerful enough to do so. He tried to rejuvenate the power of the Dark Phoenix by connecting it to Jean Grey's memories. When Starfire alerts both X-Men and the Titans, they stand together to go into battle with Darkseid. Darkseid was able to manipulate Metron and damage the Source Wall and break open an energy hole. In a catastrophic battle, Jean Grey sacrifices herself and destroys Darkseid and buries his essence in the Source Wall. In the alternate universe of Deceased, Darkseid abducted Cyborg in order to extract half of the AntiLife equation from his techno-organic circuitry. Darkseid already possessed one half of the equation. He summoned Black Racer and forced out his essence of death to keep Cyborg alive during the extraction. Darkseid mixed the essence of death with his AntiLife and injected it into Cyborg. The AntiLife equation was corrupted and turned Darkseid into a raging flesh-eating deadite. He jumped into Apocalypse's core and seemingly died and took the entire planet with himself. Victor escaped by booming himself to Earth. On arrival, he connected to all electronic devices and satellites via the internet, and the virus spread itself, turning all humans into enraged, flesh-eating deadites. Most of the major Justice League heroes died or turned into a deadite. John Kent, Damian Wayne, and the newly formed League eventually saved the world, but it was later revealed that Darkseid didn't die. In the later storyline, Deceased, War of the Dead Gods, a deadite Darkseid has returned with an army and is planning an invasion on Earth. In the famous famous storyline in Justice, Gods Among Us, Darkseid has tried multiple times to take over Earth from the evil Superman, which resulted in his son Calibrax's death at Superman's hands. Later he sent Lobo to assassinate Superman and also tricked the Justice League to battle the Greek gods. After the conflict between the League and the gods were resolved, Superman went to meet Darkseid and told him never to set foot on Earth. In return, Superman handed over Ares to Darkseid so that he can torture him. During the crossover event Injustice vs. Masters of the Universe, Darkseid attacked Eternia with the help of Skeletor to take over Castle Grayskull. The Justice League from Injustice Universe band together with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe to defeat Darkseid and his forces. While Superman was battling Darkseid, He-Man drove his magic sword through him. The killing blow dissipated Darkseid's essence and turned it into knowledge, thus ending Darkseid. Footprints in pop culture. Beside comic books, Darkseid has made appearances in multiple video games, television series, animations, and even live-action movies. Darkseid first appeared on television in the fan-favorite live-action TV series Smallville. In the animated universe of DC, he first appeared in Super Friends animation and then in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited animated series. He also appeared in the Batman the Brave and the Bold, Harley Quinn, and Young Justice animated series. He appeared in Teen Titans Go and Justice League action animated shorts. He appeared as the main antagonist in Superman Batman Apocalypse, Justice League War Reign of Superman, Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War animated movies. He also appeared in the Lego animated movies Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham and Lego DC Supervillains. Darkseid has also made appearances across multiple video games like Superman the Game, DC Universe Online, Superman Shadow of Apocalypse, Puzzles and Dragons, Justice League Task Force, and Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. The latest appearance of Darkseid was in the live-action movie Zack Snyder's Justice League, where he was established as the main villain in the DC Extended Universe. He is shown to have discovered that the AntiLife equation exists on Earth and gathered his armies for invading Earth. Conclusion. That's all that has ever happened, my parademons. Remember, the story of Darkseid doesn't end here. As long as the multiverse exists, Darkseid will always try to take its control using the anti-life equation, unless he's stopped, killed, or well, rebooted. We will keep telling his stories in our future videos as it progresses in the comic books. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, share, like, and subscribe for more videos like this. Until the next invasion for Darkseid.
Superman.